What if the food that built your favorite Greek restaurant menu was never Greek at all? What if the dishes you order with such complete confidence, the ones you point at on the menu and say, "Oh yes, this is the authentic stuff. This is what my friend who went to Santorini told me about," were actually invented in a diner in Detroit, a Coney Island in Manhattan, or a Greek-American kitchen in Tarpon Springs, Florida, by immigrants who missed home so badly they cooked something brand new and called it by an old name. Greece is one of the oldest continuous culinary civilizations on Earth. Olives, honey, lamb, yogurt, fish, grain. The Greeks have been doing this for 3,500 years, and they have not made a serious mistake yet. But some of the most beloved, supposedly Greek foods in the modern world never came from Greece at all. They came from America, and that changes everything. Hi, my name is David, and this is Food Origins, the show where we pull back the curtain on the foods you grew up loving and find out they have a completely different birth certificate than the one you were handed. Hit subscribe, because this one is going to genuinely rearrange your understanding of an entire menu. Fair warning, if you have a Greek grandmother, you may want to watch this one with the volume slightly lower than usual. Let us get into it. Food number 1, the gyro as you know it. Let us start with the dish that practically every American thinks is the most Greek food in existence, the gyro. That spinning vertical spit, the shaved meat falling onto a warm pita, the cucumber yogurt sauce, the red onion, the tomato, the slight char on the edges of the meat that makes the whole thing feel ancient and Mediterranean and absolutely correct in every single way. Here's the part that is going to upset some people. The gyro, on its spinning vertical spit, is genuinely rooted in the Eastern Mediterranean. That technique, cooking layered meat on a vertical rotisserie, came from Ottoman Turkey in the 19th century and spread across Greece, Lebanon, Syria, and the wider region. Fine, Greece has a real claim on that history. But the gyro you eat in America, the specific sandwich, the cone of pressed lamb and beef shaved off a commercially manufactured vertical spit, wrapped in a thick pita, drowned in a thick, cold tzatziki. That is an American invention. The American gyro was commercialized in Chicago in the 1960s and 70s. A Greek immigrant named John Garlic and his business partner, Gus Paris, began mass-producing a pressed cone of seasoned lamb and beef, frozen, shippable, ready to mount on any restaurant's spit and slice straight off. Before that moment, every gyro in the world was hand-stacked by a cook who built the cone slice by slice each morning. Chicago industrialized it. Chicago turned it into a product. Chicago made it possible for a diner in Iowa or a deli in New Jersey to serve a gyro at lunchtime without ever employing a Greek cook at all. Today, the vast majority of gyros eaten in the United States come from that same Chicago industrial line, or its direct descendants. Walk into a taverna in Athens and order what you call a gyro at home, the thick pita, the heavy tzatziki, the lamb and beef blend. The waiter will look at you and very politely explain that what you are describing is not exactly what Greece sells either. Greek gyros are usually pork or chicken. The pita is thinner, the sauce is lighter, the tomato and onion are the stars. The American gyro is its own animal. It is a Chicago factory invention, dressed in Greek clothing. And nobody told you. Food number 2, the Greek salad with iceberg lettuce. I need you to sit with this one, because the betrayal here runs deep. The Greek salad you order at almost every American restaurant. The one that arrives at your table with a bed of crisp iceberg lettuce, topped with cucumbers, tomatoes, red onion, green pepper, a few black olives, some crumbled feta, and a vinaigrette that came out of a bottle, has almost nothing to do with what Greeks actually eat. The real Greek salad, the one you would find in a village taverna in the Peloponnese or on a small island in the Cyclades, is called Hearty, village salad. It contains no lettuce. None. Not iceberg, not romaine, not arugula, not a single leaf of anything. Hearty is tomato, cucumber, red onion, green pepper, Kalamata olives, and a slab, not a crumble, a slab of feta laid across the top. dressed with good olive oil, a splash of vinegar, dried oregano, and salt. That is it. That is the entire dish. The lettuce-based American Greek salad was invented in the United States in the mid-20th century by Greek-American diner owners who were trying to make horiatiki legible to American customers. Americans expected salad to mean a bowl of leafy greens with stuff on top, so Greek-American cooks added the lettuce. They added the bottled dressing. They cut the feta into a crumble so it would spread across the lettuce more evenly. They made it portable, scoopable, familiar. In Tarpon Springs, Florida, a town with one of the largest Greek-American populations in the country, the local version of the Greek salad goes even further. It includes potato salad on the bottom, a scoop of it, sitting underneath the lettuce and vegetables, sometimes with beetroot and shrimp on top. That is not Greek. That is gloriously, specifically Floridian. And Tarpon Springs will fight you about it. Greece does not put lettuce in its salad. Greece does not put potato salad under its salad. Greece does not pour bottled dressing over its salad. The American Greek salad is a Greek-American invention that has more in common with a 1950s diner than with anything that has ever sat on a table in Athens. Food number 3, saganaki on fire. Picture this. You are at a Greek restaurant. The waiter walks out carrying a small cast-iron skillet with a piece of pan-fried cheese sizzling inside it. The cheese is golden, the edges are crisp, the smell is incredible. The waiter sets it down in front of you, lifts up a small bottle of brandy, pours it over the top, lights a match, and shouts, "Opa!" as a column of blue flame leaps up to eye level. You scream a little. Your date screams a little. Everybody in the restaurant claps. You squeeze a lemon over the flames, the fire dies down, and you eat one of the most theatrical pieces of cheese ever set in front of a paying customer. That, my friend, is not Greek. The flaming saganaki, the brandy pour, the opa, the entire production, was invented in Chicago in 1968 at a restaurant called the Parthenon in the city's Greektown neighborhood. The owners, Chris Liakouris and his wife Bessie, were looking for a way to draw attention to their kitchen and make their dining room feel like a destination rather than just another lunch spot. Bessie had the idea. Pour brandy over the saganaki, set it on fire, shout "Opa," make it a moment. They did it. The first night, customers loved it. The next night, more customers came. Within weeks, every Greek restaurant in Chicago was doing it. Within years, every Greek restaurant in America was doing it. Saganaki itself, the dish, is genuinely Greek. The word means little frying pan. Pan-fried cheese in a small skillet has been a Greek taverna staple for generations. But the fire, the brandy, the opa, the whole show, that is Chicago. That is one couple in one restaurant in 1968 deciding they needed a way to fill seats on a Tuesday night. Go to Athens, order saganaki at a taverna, and you will get a delicious piece of fried cheese with a lemon wedge and absolutely nothing else. No flames, no shouting, no tableside theater. The fire is American. The cheese is Greek. The combination conquered the world. Food number 4, avgolemono soup the American way. Avgolemono itself, the lemon and egg sauce that gives Greek cooking some of its most distinctive flavors, is a real and ancient Greek technique. The combination of beaten eggs with lemon juice, slowly tempered into a hot broth to create a silky, thickened soup, has roots in Sephardic Jewish cooking and crossed into Greek cuisine through the long, tangled history of the Eastern Mediterranean. Greece owns that lineage fairly. So far, so good. But the dense, creamy, chicken-stuffed, rice-laden, almost stew-thick version of avgolemono soup that you find at Greek-American diners from New Jersey to California is a Greek-American reinvention. The Greek original is delicate. A thin chicken or lamb broth, a handful of rice or orzo, the egg and lemon tempered in until the soup turns a pale yellow and just barely thickens. It is a light spring dish, often served around Easter, finished in a way that requires a careful hand, because if you boil it after adding the eggs, the whole thing curdles. Greek grandmothers will lecture you about this for 45 minutes. They are right to. The American version that took hold in Greek-owned diners across the Northeast and Midwest in the mid-20th century is something else entirely. It is thick. It is full of shredded chicken. It is loaded with so much rice that the spoon can almost stand up in it. It is comfort food in the American diner sense, designed to fill a working person up at lunchtime for under $5, not to be sipped in small cups before the lamb arrives. Greek-American diner owners adapted avgolemono the way they adapted everything else. More volume, more protein, more starch. A heartier, price-conscious dish for customers who came in cold and hungry and wanted something that could hold them until dinner. It is a beautiful dish. It is a comforting dish. It is the dish that has gotten generations of Americans through their first real bout of the flu. But it is not what your great-grandmother in Crete would have served. That version is older, lighter, and considerably more difficult to get right. Food number 5, the Coney Island hot dog. Stay with me here because this is the entry that is going to surprise more people than any other on this list. The Coney Island hot dog, that beloved American institution, the hot dog, buried under chili, mustard, and chopped onions, served at greasy spoons across the Midwest with a side of fries and a milkshake, is a Greek-American invention. Let me say that again. The most American-looking dish on this list, the one that sits at the center of Detroit diner culture, Cincinnati food identity, and small-town Michigan and Ohio Sunday afternoons, was invented by Greek and Macedonian immigrants in the early 20th century, and it has nothing to do with Coney Island, the neighborhood in Brooklyn, at all. The story begins in the 1910s and 20s, when waves of Greek and Macedonian immigrants arrived in the industrial Midwest, looking for factory work and finding instead the same problem every immigrant group encountered. The factory jobs were brutal, the rents were high, and the easiest way to make a living was to open a small restaurant that could feed hungry workers cheaply and fast. Many of these immigrants had come through Ellis Island, where they had spent time in New York and seen the hot dog culture of Coney Island, the beachside neighborhood that had already become synonymous with the American hot dog. When they opened their own small lunch counters in Detroit, Flint, Jackson, Cincinnati, and dozens of other Midwestern cities, they named their restaurants after the place they had first encountered the dish, Coney Islands. Then they did what every great immigrant cook in history has done. They reinvented it. They built a meat-based sauce that was not quite a chili and not quite a bolognese, something closer to the spiced ground meat sauces of the Eastern Mediterranean, seasoned with cinnamon, allspice, sometimes cloves, sometimes chocolate. They ladled this sauce over a steamed beef frankfurter on a soft white bun, topped it with yellow mustard and finely chopped raw onion, and they sold it for a nickel. The Coney Island hot dog became the defining food of Michigan, the foundation of Cincinnati's famous chili, and a quiet monument to the Greek-American kitchens that built it. There are still original Coney Island restaurants operating in Detroit today, run by the third and fourth generations of the families that opened them. Greece never had a hot dog. The Coney Island hot dog is what happens when a Greek immigrant family arrives in industrial Michigan and decides to feed the entire city. That is not Greek food. That is Greek-American food, which is its own remarkable thing, and it has been hiding inside the most American sandwich on the menu for over 100 years. Food number 6, the gyro pizza and the spanakopita pizza. I almost did not include this one because it feels too easy. But the more I researched it, the more I realized the gyro pizza, the spanakopita pizza, and the entire genre of Greek-American crossover pizzas were a deeply specific American invention that deserves its own chapter. Pizza in America was, for most of the 20th century, a New York and New Haven Italian-American business. Greek immigrants who arrived in New England in the mid-20th century, particularly in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, looked at the pizza market and decided to build their own version. The Greek-style pizza was born. Thicker crust than New York, oilier than New Haven, baked in a heavily oiled round pan rather than directly on a stone, with a crisp golden bottom and a chewy interior. The sauce was slightly sweeter. The cheese was a blend that almost always included some feta or some casseri alongside the mozzarella. It was a different beast entirely. And then they began topping it with their own cooking. Sliced gyro meat across the top. Spanakopita filling, baked into a pizza. Greek salad ingredients piled on after baking. None of this exists in Greece. Greece does not have pizza in the American sense. Greece has the open-faced flatbreads, the pita-based snacks, the wood-fired meat plates. But pizza as a category is Italian, and it is American. The gyro pizza is the moment Greek-American cooks looked at Italian-American cooks and said, "We can do this too. And we are going to put our grandmother's lamb on it." The result is now a fixture of New England pizza menus, especially in towns with large Greek populations. It is delicious. It is genuine. It is one of the clearer examples of the Greek-American kitchen building something the old country could not have imagined. Food number 7, the diner. I know what you are thinking. David, a diner is not a food, and you are right. But hear me out, because the American diner is one of the most important Greek-American culinary inventions on this list, and almost nobody connects the two. The American diner, that specific institution with the chrome counter, the swivel stools, the massive laminated menu with 300 items, the bottomless coffee, the breakfast served at 3 in the morning, the dinner served at 6 in the morning, the way the waitress calls you honey before you have even sat down. That entire concept, that entire culture, is largely the work of Greek immigrants. Greek immigrants arrived in the United States in massive numbers between 1890 and 1925. Many of them lacked English. Many of them lacked formal education. What they had was a tradition of hospitality, a willingness to work 15-hour days, and a culinary culture rooted in feeding strangers well. The American diner, which had existed in some form since the 1870s as a converted railway car serving short orders to factory workers, became the perfect business for them to enter. By the 1950s, the vast majority of diners in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania were Greek-owned. The menus they wrote, the breakfast all day, the souvlaki next to the cheeseburger, the gyro next to the meatloaf, the spanakopita appetizer sitting on the same menu as a tuna melt, that was a Greek-American invention. They built a restaurant format that promised any food at any hour for any customer, and they built it on the back of family labor, 3-generation kitchens, and the simple, radical idea that hospitality should not have hours. The American diner is one of the great pieces of cultural infrastructure this country has, and it is overwhelmingly the work of Greek families who never got their name on the door of the broader food history. Every time you sit down at a counter at 3 in the morning and a stranger pours you coffee without asking, you are eating inside a Greek-American invention. Food number 8, the spanakopita roll, the American way. Spanakopita itself, the spinach and feta pie wrapped in delicate layers of phyllo, is genuinely Greek. It is one of the great triumphs of Mediterranean home cooking, a dish that has been made by Greek grandmothers for generations, using techniques that take years to master. The phyllo has to be stretched paper thin. The layers have to be brushed with olive oil or butter one by one. The filling has to be balanced just right. It is a dish of patience and precision. The roll version you find in the frozen food aisle of every American grocery store, the little spinach and feta triangles that come in a yellow box, ready to bake in 18 minutes from frozen at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, is a Greek-American adaptation that has almost nothing to do with the original. The mass-produced phyllo roll was developed in the United States in the mid-20th century by Greek-American food manufacturers, most prominently in the New York metropolitan area, where Greek immigrant families were already operating commercial bakeries and phyllo factories. They figured out how to industrialize a labor-intensive home dish, freeze it, package it, and sell it to American supermarkets at a price that working families could afford. That product, the frozen spanakopita triangle, became one of the foundational items of the American specialty appetizer category. It is sold in millions of boxes per year. It appears at office parties, baby showers, retirement events, and middle school back-to-school nights across the country. The Greek grandmother version, made by hand on a Sunday afternoon with the family in the kitchen, still exists. But the American, mass-produced version is its own product, with its own history, and it is a Greek-American industrial achievement that the original village kitchens could not have imagined. Food number 9, the Greek frappe at the American coffee shop. The Greek frappe, that iced coffee made with instant Nescafe, water, sugar, and ice, shaken or blended until it produces a thick foam on top, is something Greeks themselves invented in 1957 at the Thessaloniki International Trade Fair, when a Nestle representative could not find hot water to make his instant coffee and dumped the powder into cold water with ice instead. Genuine Greek invention. Settled history. Greece owns it. But the frappe you order at a Greek-American restaurant or coffee shop in the United States, the one served in a tall glass with a long spoon, often topped with milk, sometimes flavored with vanilla or hazelnut syrup, sized to compete with American iced coffees and lattes, is a Greek-American reinvention. The original Greek frappe is small, it is intense, it is served black or with just a splash of evaporated milk. It is sipped slowly through a straw over the course of an entire conversation, sometimes an entire afternoon, sometimes an entire morning's worth of arguments about politics and football. The American version is bigger, sweeter, and often blended into something closer to a milkshake. It is a Greek invention rebuilt for an American context, and it is the rare entry on this list where I can say with a straight face that the American version is genuinely worse than the original. Sorry, I had to say it. The original Thessaloniki frappe, in a small glass with 2 ice cubes and a fierce kick of unsweetened instant coffee, is one of the great drinks of the modern world, and it deserves to be drunk that way. The American mall version is a different drink wearing the same name. Food number 10, the rice pudding called risotto. We end with something quiet, something small, something that I think captures the entire pattern of this episode in a single bowl. Risotto, the Greek rice pudding made from short grain rice slowly simmered in milk, with sugar, lemon zest, and a final dusting of cinnamon, is one of the simplest and most beloved desserts in Greek home cooking. It has been served in Greek kitchens for generations, usually warm in winter and cold in summer, usually as a comfort food after a long day, almost never as a restaurant dessert. It is private food, family food, the kind of dish a grandmother makes you when you have been sick. The version you encounter at Greek-American restaurants and Greek-American bakeries across the United States is a different creature. It is colder. It is richer. It is often loaded with so much cream and sugar and vanilla that it tastes closer to a New England rice pudding than to anything you would get in a village in Epirus. The cinnamon on top is heavier. The texture is denser. The portion is roughly twice the size of what you would be served in Athens. Greek-American kitchens, working in a country where rice pudding was already a familiar dessert through Scandinavian, Eastern European, and Southern American traditions, adapted risotto to compete with those existing American versions. They made it bigger. They made it sweeter. They made it the kind of dessert that arrived at the end of a meal with 2 spoons and a flourish, rather than the quiet bowl your grandmother handed you at the kitchen table. It is a beautiful dessert. It is delicious. It is 100% a Greek-American adaptation, and the original, lighter, lemon-kissed, gently warm version is still waiting for most American eaters to discover it. 10 foods, 1 ancient civilization, and a quiet truth running underneath all of it. Greece is one of the oldest culinary cultures on Earth. Olive oil, lamb, fish, grain, honey, and yogurt have been feeding Greek families for 3,500 years. The food traditions of Greece are real, deep, and worth honoring. But the dishes that Americans most strongly associate with Greek food, the gyro on the spinning spit, the salad with iceberg lettuce, the flaming saganaki, the thick lemon chicken soup, the Coney Island hot dog, the gyro pizza, the diner format itself, the frozen spanakopita triangle, the oversized iced coffee, the heavy rice pudding, are mostly not from Greece at all. They are from America. They are from Greek-American immigrant kitchens, from diner counters in Detroit and Brooklyn and Tarpon Springs, from one specific restaurant in Chicago in 1968, from one specific factory in the Midwest, from one specific moment when a Greek family looked at the American customer in front of them and made a decision about how to feed that person well. None of that makes the food less real. None of it makes it less delicious. It just means the story is more interesting than the menu lets on. Greek-American food is not a lesser version of Greek food. It is its own cuisine, with its own history, its own logic, and its own remarkable list of inventions. And the next time you sit down in front of a flaming piece of cheese while a waiter shouts at you, you can know that what you are eating is not 3,000 years of Mediterranean tradition. It is one Greek couple in Chicago in 1968 who decided their restaurant needed a moment. And the world said, yes, give us that moment. Give us that moment again. Give us that moment forever. I'm David. This is Food Origins. If this changed the way you see your favorite Greek restaurant, hit that like button and subscribe, because we have stories exactly like this one lined up for cuisines all over the world. Tell me in the comments which of these 10 surprised you the most. I have a feeling the Coney Island hot dog one is going to start some arguments. And honestly, good. The best food conversations always do.